Justice served.
My name is Gabriela Torres, and let me tell you something about being called sweetheart in a professional setting. It's not a compliment. It's a cower move. It's a way of reminding you that no matter how qualified you are, no matter how many degrees you have or deals you've closed, there are men who will never see you as an equal. You're just sweetheart, honey, darling, a diminutive, a decoration, someone who needs to be talked down to. I spent 12 years in commercial real estate, an industry that's still very much an old boys club. I learned early how to navigate rooms where I was the only woman, how to laugh off comments that made my skin crawl, how to be one of the guys without actually being respected like one. I learned how to smile when I wanted to scream. But here's what I also learned. Men who disrespect women at work rarely limit that disrespect to the office, and men who think they're untouchable usually have something to hide. This story isn't just about workplace harassment. It's about what happens when you realize the man condescending to you in meetings is also lying to his wife, manipulating a younger colleague, and banking on the fact that you'll never connect the dots. But I did connect them. And when I found out his wife wasn't just anyone, that she was on the board of directors of our parent company, well, let's just say the dots connected themselves into a very clear picture. This is the story of how a patronizing sweetheart in a conference room led to a phone call that ended a career, exposed an affair, and reminded everyone in that building that underestimating women is a career-limiting move. So if you've ever been talked down to, patted on the head, or made to feel small by someone who should know better, this one is for you. Because sometimes the best revenge is simply telling the truth to exactly the right person. The first time he called me sweetheart in front of clients, I smiled and let it go. The day I called his wife, I smiled again. But that smile was different. Let me set the scene. It's a Thursday afternoon in November. I'm sitting in my car in the parking garage of our office building, phone in hand, looking at a contact I'd saved 3 weeks earlier. Victoria Chen Personal. Not her work number, her personal cell. My finger hovers over the call button. I'd spent 6 months documenting everything. The condescending comments, the inappropriate touches on my lower back, the way he'd talk over me in meetings and then repeat my ideas as his own, the affair with Madison, our 26-year-old junior analyst, that he thought no one knew about. I had emails, text message screenshots, photos with timestamps, even a recorded conversation where he'd asked me to cover for him while he took Madison to a client meeting that was actually a weekend in Napa. I had everything, and I was about to hand it all to the one person who had more power than him and more reasons to care, his wife, who just happened to be a board member of Crestmont Capital, the private equity firm that owned our company. I pressed call. 3 rings. Hello? Her voice was calm, professional, slightly curious. Hi, Mrs. Chen. My name's Gabriela Torres. I work with your husband at Apex Realty Group. I'm sorry to call you directly, but there's something I think you need to know. There was a pause. I'm listening. I took a breath, and then I told her everything.
Let me take you back to the beginning. I joined Apex Realty Group 8 years ago as a commercial real estate analyst. Apex specialized in corporate property acquisitions, helping companies find, negotiate, and secure office spaces, retail locations, and industrial properties across the West Coast. It was high stakes, fast-paced, and male-dominated. When I started, there were 42 employees. 4 of us were women, 2 were in HR, 1 was an executive assistant, and then there was me. The office was in downtown San Francisco, 23rd floor, all glass and chrome and expensive modern furniture, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, conference rooms named after famous buildings, a reception area that looked like a luxury hotel lobby. Everyone wore suits. Everyone talked in numbers, square footage, price per square foot, cap rates, NOI, ROI. I loved it. I loved the complexity of the deals. I loved analyzing market trends, running comps, building financial models that could make or break a $50 million acquisition. I loved the moment when a negotiation clicked and everyone walked away satisfied. I was good at it too. Within 3 years, I was promoted to senior analyst. Within 5, I was an associate director. I'd closed deals worth over $300 million. I'd built relationships with developers, landlords, and corporate clients up and down California. I worked 70-hour weeks. I answered emails at midnight. I took calls on weekends. I did everything right. And for a while, it worked. My colleagues respected me. My boss, the previous VP of acquisitions, a guy named Tom, who'd actually mentored me, valued my work. I felt like I was building something. But then Tom retired, and everything changed.
His name was David Chen. He joined Apex as the new VP of Acquisitions about 2 years ago, brought in by Crestmont Capital as part of a leadership refresh. He was 48, MBA from Wharton, 20 years in commercial real estate, impeccably dressed, silver fox handsome, and he was married to Victoria Chen, a managing director at Crestmont, one of the investors who'd bought Apex 3 years earlier. That connection was mentioned once during his introduction and then never talked about again. But everyone knew. You don't forget that the new VP's wife is technically one of the company's owners. At first, David seemed fine. He was charming in that practiced corporate way. He remembered people's names. He brought bagels to Monday meetings. He talked about collaboration and empowering the team. In our first one-on-one, he even said, "Tom told me you're the best analyst he's ever worked with. I'm looking forward to learning from you." I appreciated it. Finally, someone who recognized my value. But the cracks started showing within weeks. It started with small things. In meetings, he'd interrupt me mid-sentence to ask a male colleague what he thought. He'd repeat my analysis back to the room in his own words, as if he'd just thought of it. He'd assign me to take notes during strategy sessions, even though I was the second most senior person in the room. And then there were the comments. "Sweetheart, can you pull those comps for me?" "Thanks, honey, you're a lifesaver." "Darling, let's table that discussion for now." I hated it. But I didn't say anything, because I'd learned over 12 years in this industry that women who complain are difficult. Women who push back are not team players. Women who call out disrespect are too sensitive. So I smiled, I nodded, I did my job, and I watched. The breaking point came during a client pitch in July. We were presenting to a major tech company looking to lease 200,000 square feet of office space in San Jose, a $40 million deal over 10 years. I'd spent 3 months on the proposal. I'd toured every available property, I'd built the financial models, I'd negotiated preliminary terms with 3 different landlords. This was my deal. The morning of the pitch, David pulled me aside. "I'm going to take the lead on this presentation," he said. I stared at him. I built the entire proposal. I know, and it's excellent work, but this client is old school. They'll respond better to senior leadership. Senior leadership. Code for a man. "Gabriella, I've been the lead on this from day one. I have the relationships. I know." "Gabriella." He put his hand on my shoulder, squeezed. "I need you to trust me on this. You're a great analyst, but client-facing strategy is my wheelhouse. You'll be there to support. That's what's best for the company."
I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell him to go to hell. But we were 10 minutes from the meeting, so I swallowed it. The pitch went perfectly, because I'd built a flawless proposal. David presented my analysis, my comps, my financial models. He answered their questions using the briefing materials I'd prepared for him. He closed the meeting with the negotiation strategy I'd outlined. And when the client said yes, when they shook hands and agreed to move forward, the CEO looked at David and said, "You've got a hell of a team." David smiled. "Thank you. We work hard." We. Not Gabriella built this, or my team led by Gabriella. Just we. After the client left, David turned to me grinning. "Great job, sweetheart. Couldn't have done it without you." And he patted me on the head. Actually patted me on the head, like I was a child or a dog. In front of 3 junior colleagues, I felt my face go hot, my hands clenched. One of the junior guys looked uncomfortable. The other 2 smirked. I excused myself, walked to the bathroom, locked myself in a stall, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to HR. I wasn't going to his boss. I wasn't going to write a carefully worded email about respectful workplace communication. I was going to find leverage, and I was going to use it.
I started paying attention. Real attention. I watched David's calendar. I noticed patterns. Late client meetings that weren't on the company calendar. Business dinners that lasted until midnight. Frequent trips to our Palo Alto office that seemed unnecessary. And I noticed who he was spending time with. Madison Park, 26 years old, junior analyst, hired 6 months ago, fresh out of grad school, ambitious and eager to please. David praised her constantly. Madison really gets it. Madison's got great instincts. He invited her to client meetings I wasn't included in. He gave her high-profile assignments despite her inexperience. At first, I thought maybe she was just good at politics, playing the game. Then I noticed the way he looked at her, the way he'd find excuses to lean close when reviewing documents, the way his hand would linger on her shoulder, the way he'd smile at her, not the professional smile he gave everyone else, but something different, something familiar. And I noticed the way she responded, the nervous laughs, the way she'd blush, the late-night Slack messages between them that would suddenly go quiet. I needed proof. So I started documenting. I kept a log, every condescending comment, every time he took credit for my work, every inappropriate nickname, dates, times, witnesses. But I also started watching his patterns more carefully. One Friday, David told our team he had a client dinner in Palo Alto and would be out of the office. Madison called in sick that same afternoon. Interesting. I checked the company parking garage. David's car was gone by 3 p.m. On a hunch, I checked Madison's Instagram story that evening. There it was. A photo of a wine glass, expensive restaurant, the caption, "Wine, sparkles." The geotag, Palo Alto. I screenshotted it. The next week, David asked me to cover for him during a Thursday afternoon leadership call. Family emergency, he said. I need to leave early. That evening, Madison posted a sunset photo from a beach in Half Moon Bay. Screenshot. Over the next month, I collected 7 instances of overlapping sick days and client meetings, Instagram and Facebook posts that contradicted their stated locations, expense reports for hotels and dinners David claimed were solo client meetings, a text message thread I'd accidentally seen on David's phone when he left it on the conference table. I took a photo with my own phone. The texts were damning. David, missing you. This week has been torture. Madison, same. When can we get away again? David, soon. I'll figure something out. V is traveling next week. V. Victoria. His wife. I sat at my desk, looking at that screenshot, and I felt something shift. This wasn't just about me anymore. David was condescending to me, but he was lying to his wife. He was manipulating Madison, who was young enough not to see the power imbalance. He was using company resources to fund an affair. And his wife, the woman he was betraying, had the power to end his career with one phone call. I just had to make that call for her.
I needed to know more about Victoria Chen before I made my move. So I did what any good analyst does. I researched. LinkedIn first. Victoria Chen, Managing Director at Crestmont Capital. Stanford MBA, 25 years in private equity. She sat on the boards of 4 portfolio companies, including Apex. She was brilliant, respected, known for being thorough and no nonsense. And based on the industry articles I found, she didn't tolerate incompetence or unethical behavior. Perfect. I found her personal email through a professional network database. Technically a gray area, but I was past caring about technicalities. I also found her cell number through a contact who'd worked with her years ago. But I didn't reach out yet. First, I needed to organize my evidence. I created a folder, printed documents, built a timeline. Part 1. Harassment and discrimination. 47 documented instances of condescending language, 12 instances of taking credit for my work, 8 instances of being excluded from meetings I should have attended, 6 instances of inappropriate physical contact, the shoulder touches, the head pat. Part 2. The affair. 15 instances of coordinated absences with Madison. Expense reports totaling $18,000 for client dinners and hotels that corresponded with Madison's social media posts. Text message screenshots. Photos showing them together outside of work. Part 3. Misuse of company resources. Company credit card charges for personal expenses. Falsified expense reports. Using company time for personal matters. I had everything. But I needed one more thing. The perfect moment. That moment came in late October. David scheduled a team strategy offsite in Napa for mid-November. 2 days, luxury resort, ostensibly to plan Q4 strategy. He invited the entire acquisitions team, except me. He said, "I need you holding the fort here. Can't have everyone gone at once." Translation, I don't want you there. That was fine. Because while he was in Napa with the team, I checked Madison's calendar. She'd blocked off the same 2 days. Personal PTO. And when I casually asked her what she was doing that week, she got flustered and said, "Oh, just a little getaway. Need to recharge." Interesting. So David was taking Madison to Napa, calling it a team offsite, and leaving me behind. That was the final piece. On November 10th, 3 days before the Napa trip, I made the call to Victoria Chen.
Hello? Her voice was calm, professional. Hi, Mrs. Chen. My name is Gabriela Torres. I work with your husband at Apex Realty Group. I'm sorry to call you directly, but there's something I think you need to know. A pause. I'm listening. I took a breath. Your husband has been having an affair with a junior analyst at our company. Her name is Madison Park. It's been going on for at least 6 months. They've been using company resources, credit cards, expense accounts, company time to cover it, and I have documentation. Silence. I couldn't read it. Was she angry? Shocked? Skeptical? Why are you telling me this? She finally asked. Her voice was controlled, but I could hear something underneath. Steele. Because he's also been sexually harassing me for 2 years, calling me demeaning names, taking credit for my work, excluding me from opportunities, and I've documented that too. I'm calling you because you're on the board of Crestmont, which owns Apex, and I think you should know what kind of person your husband actually is, both personally and professionally. Another pause. Can you send me what you have? Yes. Send it to this email. She rattled off an address, not her Crestmont email, a personal one. I'll send it within the hour. Thank you, Ms. Torres. She hung up. I sat in my car, hands shaking, adrenaline flooding my system. I'd just blown up a man's marriage and career. And I didn't feel guilty at all. I sent the files, all of them, organized, labeled, with a cover memo summarizing everything. Then I waited. For 3 days, nothing happened. David went on his Napa team offsite. Madison took her personal PTO. I worked, answered emails, ran reports, acted like everything was normal. Then, on the 3rd day, I got a call from an unknown number. Ms. Torres, this is Jeffrey Rosen. I'm general counsel for Crestmont Capital. I'd like to schedule a meeting with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. at our offices. Can you make that work? My heart raced. Yes. Good. Come alone. Don't mention this to anyone at Apex. He hung up. The next morning, I walked into Crestmont's downtown offices. Glass tower, 42nd floor, views of the entire city. I was led into a conference room. Inside, Jeffrey Rosen, general counsel, Victoria Chen, and 2 other board members I recognized from Apex's quarterly reports. Victoria looked composed, professional, but her eyes were ice. Thank you for coming, Ms. Torres, Jeffrey said. We've reviewed the materials you sent. We've also conducted our own preliminary investigation. We need to ask you some questions. For the next 2 hours, they grilled me. They asked about every document, every date, every witness. They asked if I'd fabricated anything, exaggerated anything, had any ulterior motives. I answered everything, calmly, factually. Victoria didn't speak much. She just watched me. At the end, Jeffrey closed his folder. Thank you for your cooperation. We'll be in touch. I stood to leave. As I reached the door, Victoria spoke. Ms. Torres. I turned. Thank you, she said quietly, for telling me. I nodded, and I left. 2 days later, David was placed on administrative leave. An external investigation was launched. Within a week, Madison resigned. No explanation. Just gone. Within 2 weeks, the investigation concluded. David was terminated for cause: sexual harassment, misuse of company funds, falsification of expense reports, violation of company ethics policies. No severance, no glowing exit announcement, just gone. The divorce papers were filed 3 weeks later, and Victoria Chen personally called me. Ms. Torres, the board would like to offer you the position of VP of Acquisitions, David's former role, 40% salary increase, full benefits, and a formal apology from Apex leadership for the hostile work environment you endured. I was silent for a moment. I accept. Good, she said. And, Ms. Torres, thank you for your courage. Thank you for listening.
I've been VP of Acquisitions for 18 months now. I rebuilt the team. I hired 3 new analysts, 2 women, 1 man. I established clear policies about respectful communication. I make sure everyone gets credit for their work. And no one calls me sweetheart. David tried to land at a competitor, but word travels fast in commercial real estate. And when potential employers started doing reference checks, calling people who actually worked with him, let's just say the offers dried up. Last I heard, he's doing consulting work, freelance. No team, no authority. Madison left the industry entirely. I heard she's in marketing now. I hope she's okay. I hope she learned something. Victoria and I don't have a personal relationship, but we're professional colleagues now. She's tough, fair, and brilliant. The kind of leader I aspire to be. And I learned something important.
Here's what I learned. When someone disrespects you, believe them the first time. David showed me who he was in those first few weeks. The interruptions, the diminishing language, the casual condescension. I ignored it because I wanted to be professional, because I didn't want to be difficult. But ignoring disrespect doesn't make it go away. It just teaches people they can keep doing it. I also learned that documentation is power. Every email, every comment, every witness, every receipt. You don't need to know what you'll do with it. Just collect it, build the file, because one day you might need it. And finally, I learned that the truth is the most powerful weapon you have. I didn't fabricate anything. I didn't exaggerate. I didn't manipulate. I just told the truth to someone who had the power to do something about it. David's downfall wasn't revenge. It was consequences. If you're listening to this and you've ever been called sweetheart by someone who should know better, I want you to know something. You don't have to accept it. You don't have to smile and let it go. You don't have to be the cool girl who doesn't make waves. You can document it. You can report it. You can find the person with the power to fix it. And sometimes that person is closer than you think. Because the man who condescends to you at work is probably doing worse things somewhere else. And the people who love him, his wife, his family, his colleagues, deserve to know the truth. So document everything. Find your leverage. And when the moment is right, make the call. You're not being vindictive. You're just telling the truth. And if the truth destroys someone's career, that's not your fault. That's theirs. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment below. Have you ever been patronized at work? Have you ever exposed someone who thought they were untouchable? What happened? Let's talk about it. And if you want more stories about standing up for yourself, finding your leverage, and making sure the people who underestimate you learn exactly what you're capable of, subscribe, because I've got plenty more.